It's two fairy tales for the price of one today with Riquet of the Tuft by Charles Perrault and the much darker version he based it on by a woman about how marriage pretty much always sucks. Queen gives birth to a son who is so ugly and misshapen it is doubtful he will ever have human form at all for a time, but he does. Everyone just thinks he's very ugly, but a fairy gives him amazing intelligence and the ability to gift intelligence to the person he ends up loving. And he has just a little tuft of hair on his head, and that's why he's called Riquet, or I'll just say Ricky of the Tuft. His tuft's really big in this one. At the same time Ricky's born, a queen in another kingdom gives birth to twin daughters, and one of them is incredibly beautiful but really stupid, and the other one is ugly but super smart. Like with Ricky, a fairy says that the dumb but beautiful princess will be able to give beauty to anyone she chooses. The ugly smart princess doesn't get any gifts like that, but it's okay because she's living her best life. Everyone loves her. In fact, the beautiful sister grows up completely jealous of her because no one likes her because she's so dumb. Because in this story, her lack of intelligence is also applied physically. She's incredibly awkward and like breaks things and spills stuff all over herself all the time. Well, they grow up and Ricky sees a picture of the beautiful princess. He decides he wants to marry her, so he comes to court her. When he meets her, she's crying and he's like, "Why are you so sad when you're so beautiful?" And she's like, "'Cause I'm so stupid." And he's like, "Well, hey, I have the ability to give intelligence to anyone I want. I'll give it to you now if you promise to marry me in a year." So she agrees, and he goes home and she goes home and dazzles everyone with her amazing wit. Everyone wants to marry her, but now she thinks they're all too stupid for her. Finally, her dad's like, "You gotta pick one of them." And she's like, "Okay, I'll go for a walk in the woods and I'll think about it." A year has passed and she meets Ricky out in the woods and there's all these people like setting up a banquet table. She's like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm preparing for our marriage. Remember you promised to marry me?" She's like, "I don't know that I should necessarily be held to that promise," and kind of makes sort of a good point. "I was senseless and really dumb when I made that bargain with you and you were really smart and it was kind of taking advantage of me. I don't think I should be held to a promise I made when I wasn't really capable of making it." Then Ricky's like, "Okay, is the only objection you have to marrying me that I'm ugly?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're actually the only intelligent person I can actually converse with." He goes, "Well, you don't know this," and I don't know why he knows it and she doesn't, but he says, "You have the ability to gift me with beauty just like I gifted you with intelligence." She says, "Well, if that's true, yeah, I'm gonna give it to you. Turn beautiful." And he does. Look how hot he turned. Definitely with a good fashion sense. Because obviously it worked, and now they're both really smart and they're both really beautiful and they get married. Now the earlier version that Catherine Bernard wrote that Perrault based this story on is much darker and has a dismal ending. Even though she's also French, she sets this story in Spain to make it exotic. It starts with the princess character who is just born beautiful but really stupid, but specifically Bernard says that she's lacking spirit. Like the other princess, no one likes her, but she's too dumb to really even understand why. Well, one day, she meets this dude who just pops up out of the ground. This is Ricky, and in this version, he's literally subhuman. He's some kind of gnome-like creature. He says, "I'm gonna tell you something hard to hear, and then something really awesome. The hard to hear thing is that people don't like you because you're really lacking in sense. You're dumb." But then he looks at her and he says, "But looking at your empty eyes right now, I realize I overestimated you when I thought my words would offend you," because she doesn't even get it enough to be offended. He, because he's this magical gnome creature, says, "I can give you intelligence, but you have to agree to marry me in a year." He says, "Think about it as long as you want. In the meantime, here's this magical poem you can recite." So he leaves and she goes around reciting this magical poem. And as she does, she starts to grow in spirit and intelligence. Everyone falls in love with her, but she falls in love with a poor man named Arata, and he's the only one she wants. A year passes and it's time for her wedding to Ricky, but she wants to escape it while keeping her gift. Then suddenly he appears, the ground opens up before her, and she sees herself in this underground realm full of more men who look all weird and gross like him. She's like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to marry you." And he's like, "Okay, then give me the intelligence back." But she doesn't want to do that either. He says, "Look, I'm the king of the gnomes. Marry me, you'll be the queen, and you'll have your spirit and gold. And if you're unhappy with both of those things, it's your own fault." He has this amazing palace, and she lives in absolute luxury with gnomes doing all her bidding. She could have a good life there. She thinks if she loses her intelligence, Arata won't love her anyway, so she marries Ricky. But he disgusts her, and as time goes by, her disgust for him makes him resent her, and they start to really hate each other. He spends more and more time away from her, so she decides to sneak her lover, Arata, down to be with her, and she hides him in her chambers, and they carry on a secret love affair. But Ricky is smart, and he notices that she starts to dress up all the time, and that she seems a lot happier, and he knows what's up. He wants to take her intelligence away, but he can't because she held up her end of the bargain and did marry marry him, but he is able to split the spell. He makes it so she's smart at night when she's sleeping with him, but dumb during the day. But it backfires because one night while she's awake and smart, she gets this drug that can make Ricky go to sleep. So she starts sleeping during the day when she's stupid, drugging Ricky at night so she can be awake and with her lover all night while she's smart. But one night a servant hears Ricky snoring and takes the herb away from his nose. He wakes up, sees her in the arms of her lover, then grabs a wand and hits her lover 3 times and makes him physically identical to him. So they both look like gnome creatures. As days pass, our girl loses the ability to distinguish between the two of them. She doesn't know who to confess to and who to pretend to. So she just shuts down inside, accepts that she has 2 husbands, and the last line is, maybe she didn't lose that much. With time, all lovers become husbands. This version is a strange, bizarre tale without really clear morals or messages. In a way, romance itself seems to be made absurd and superficial in that once her lover looks just like her husband, she can't tell them apart because of personality, because it was just all a surface thing. Or maybe if you're always searching for that rush of romance and an extramarital affair, eventually that will then become the boring thing that you have now and you'll want to look for something else. In fact, maybe her lover didn't change actually at the end. He just changed in her eyes once she'd been with him for a long time. And she realized the 2 guys really were just the same. And maybe it's all the same in that society with that form of patriarchy. It's definitely not the marriage equals a happily ever after that you see in lots of other fairy tales. As always, check out my book, Dust Spells, a reimagining of the 12 Dancing Princesses that does have a happy ending, and my podcast. All the links are in the bio.